When I caught my girlfriend texting her ex just for closure, I asked if she wanted privacy or freedom. She picked privacy. I gave her freedom anyway, starting with her toothbrush on the lawn. I'm Jake, 30 years old, male, and I swear, the night I caught my girlfriend texting her ex felt like my chest cracked open from the inside out. We'd been together almost 3 years. Not perfect years, but real ones. The kind where you survive each other's bad moods, joke about groceries, share playlists, and think you're building something solid. Her name's Emma, 28. She's a nurse, the kind of person who could talk down a panicked patient or make a screaming kid smile with one look. That's what pulled me in, her calm, her warmth. She had this quiet way of making everything feel okay. I used to think she'd save me from the chaos in my own head. Turns out, she was the one stirring it all along. It started small. The late-night smiles at her phone. The screen flipped face down the second I walked in. The just tired excuses when I'd ask what was up. I'm not the jealous type. I've been cheated on before, and I promised myself I'd never become that paranoid guy checking messages or tracking locations. But with Emma, the distance felt physical, like she was already somewhere else. One night in August, she left her phone on the counter while she showered. I wasn't snooping, I swear I wasn't. But when it buzzed and lit up, I saw a preview I'll never forget. I just needed closure, you know what I mean? It was from Ethan, her ex, the guy she swore was ancient history. My heart started pounding so hard it felt like my body was trying to eject me from it. I opened it. Yeah, I know. I broke the unspoken rule. But when you've built your life around someone, you have the right to know if that life's been a lie. The thread went back weeks. Little things at first. Hope you're doing okay. Crazy how long it's been. I still think about that trip to Big Bear. Then it got deeper, emotional, nostalgic. She'd sent him photos. Not explicit, but intimate. Ones I'd taken of her. When she came out of the shower, towel in her hair, I was sitting on the couch holding her phone like it was radioactive. "Jake, what are you doing?" she asked, voice already trembling. I said, "Do you want privacy or freedom?" Her brow furrowed. "What does that mean?" "It means you can have privacy if you stay, or freedom if you leave." She chose privacy, so I gave her freedom anyway. That night, I set her toothbrush on the front lawn next to a garbage bag full of her clothes. Her perfume bottle shattered when it hit the concrete. It smelled like the ghost of every lie she told. She stood there crying, barefoot, begging me not to do this, but all I could see was that text. Just for closure. You don't text an ex for closure, you text them because a part of you wants the door open again. And I'm done living in someone else's hallway. She came back the next morning. I heard the soft knock before the sun was even up. That hesitant rhythm people use when they know they're not supposed to be there. I didn't open the door at first, just sat on the couch staring at the dent her body used to make on the other cushion, the mug she'd left on the counter, the faint scent of her shampoo still clinging to the air like it refused to move on. When I finally opened the door, she was standing there in an oversized hoodie, eyes red, holding a paper bag. Inside was banana bread, still warm. "Can we talk?" she asked, voice raw. I let her in. Not because I wanted to, but because I wanted answers. I wanted to understand why. She sat at the kitchen table like she always used to, hands shaking around a coffee I made out of habit. "It wasn't like that," she said. I needed closure." Ethan reached out, and I thought if I just talked to him one last time, maybe I'd finally stop wondering. I cut her off. "Stop wondering what, Emma? If he still wanted you? If you made a mistake leaving him?" She looked up then, tears welling. No, if I was the mistake, that one hit. Because beneath the anger, I still loved her. And hearing that, her saying she felt small, uncertain, broken, it cracked me open in a way I didn't want to admit. But love doesn't excuse betrayal, so I told her I'd read the messages, every word. The, "You'll always be my what if," the "maybe in another life," the photo she'd sent him of our cat sleeping on her lap, the same lap I'd rested my head on 1,000 times. "Do you have any idea how humiliating that feels?" I asked. "You were texting another man about missing him while sitting next to me on the couch." She started crying harder, apologizing over and over. "It didn't mean anything," she said. "I just missed who I used to be." He reminded me of that. "You mean the version of you before me?" She nodded slowly. Yeah, I guess. Something in me went cold. Because that's when I realized this wasn't about Ethan at all. It was about her. About the part of her that always needed to feel wanted, even if it meant burning everything around her to keep warm. When she reached for my hand, I pulled away. You chose privacy, I said quietly. You don't get to rewrite that now. She looked stunned, like she hadn't expected me to still mean it. Then she whispered, Jake, please, I made a mistake. Don't let that be the thing that kills us. I laughed bitterly. Emma, this didn't kill us, you did. You just handed me the weapon to bury what was left. She left the house again, but not before saying something that stuck with me for days. You think this ends here? You think you get to just move on like none of this happened? I can't lose you, Jake. I won't. And that's when I saw it. The shift. The tremor behind her calm. The look in her eyes that wasn't sadness anymore. It was desperation. When she drove away that morning, I told myself it was over. But part of me already knew the truth. People like Emma don't leave quietly. They come back. And when they do, it's never to make peace. It's to make chaos. I didn't hear from Emma for a week after that morning. The house felt like it was exhaling after holding its breath for too long. Quiet. Still. But that kind of quiet has teeth. It gnaws at you. Every morning, I'd half expect to see her car parked outside or her name lighting up my phone. Instead, there was nothing. No calls, no texts, no crying voicemails. It should have been peaceful, but it felt eerie, like the calm before a thunderstorm you can smell coming miles away. Then it started. The first thing was small. My mailbox stuffed full of our old photos. The edges were damp from rain, and the top one showed us at the lake last summer, smiling like idiots. On the back, she'd written, You said we'd always come back here. 2 nights later, I heard tapping on my window around midnight. When I looked out, the driveway was empty, but I could swear I saw the shape of someone stepping into the shadows near the oak tree. The next morning, my truck had a fresh scratch down the driver's side. Long, deliberate, like someone wanted me to notice. My best friend Tyler, 31, male, stopped by that weekend. He's been my friend since high school, the kind of guy who speaks in sarcasm but sees everything. He took one look at the photos scattered across my counter and said, Man, this isn't closure. This is a preview for a Netflix documentary. I laughed, but it wasn't funny. She's unraveling, he said. You need to block her, change the locks, maybe even get cameras. I told him I already had changed the locks, the day she left. But when I went to check the back door that night, I noticed the screen latch was loose, like someone had been trying to pry it open. That's when I realized Emma wasn't trying to come back. She was trying to stay, in any way she could. I started finding her everywhere, at the grocery store, pretending it was a coincidence. At my gym, even though she'd never worked out there before. Once, she left a note on my windshield that said, I miss the way you breathe when you sleep. That one froze me, because that wasn't something anyone else would know. I started locking the bedroom door at night, which made me feel crazy. But what else do you do when the person who once traced hearts on your back is now showing up uninvited in your world like a ghost that doesn't want to leave? Then one evening, while I was cleaning the kitchen, I looked up and saw her standing at the end of my driveway. Just watching. Hair messy, sweatshirt hanging off one shoulder, barefoot. I stepped outside and said, Emma, you can't keep doing this. She smiled like she didn't hear me. You still have my blanket. What? My gray one, she said. The soft one. It smells like you now. Can I have it back? The way she said it, calm, soft, detached, it didn't sound like a question. It sounded like a warning. I didn't give her the blanket. Instead, I told her to leave before I called the cops. Her face twisted. Something dark flashed in her eyes. You'd really do that? To me? Yes, I said. To you. She didn't move for a long time. Then she whispered, You think you can throw me away like trash, but you're wrong. We're not done, Jake. We're just getting started. That night, I barely slept. Every creak of the house felt like footsteps. Every flicker of the streetlight looked like her silhouette. And deep down, I knew Tyler was right. This wasn't closure anymore. This was obsession. It was a Wednesday night when things finally snapped. I'd gotten home late from work, construction site out past the edge of town, long day, sore everything. All I wanted was a shower, food, and sleep. The house was dark except for the porch light. I remember thinking it felt weirdly peaceful for once. Then I saw the door, unlocked. I never leave it that way. My stomach dropped hard enough I actually froze halfway through the entryway, listening. The house had that stillness that isn't empty. It's occupied. I grabbed the old baseball bat from the umbrella stand and started moving room by room. That's when I heard it. Music. Faint, coming from the living room. Her playlist. Emma's damn playlist. I followed the sound and found her sitting cross-legged on the couch like she'd never left. Wearing one of my shirts, candles lit, my cat asleep next to her. For a second, I couldn't even speak. My brain was trying to bridge the gap between logic and nightmare. She looked up, smiling soft. "You left the door open." "No," I said. My voice came out flat. "You broke in." Her eyes flickered, something between guilt and defiance. "I just wanted to talk. You've been ignoring me. I thought maybe if we could just sit down." "Emma, get out." "Jake, please." She stood, hands trembling, but her voice steady. "I know I messed up. I panicked. I reached out to the wrong person at the wrong time, but what we have, it's not something you just erase." "You already erased it," I said, "one text at a time." Her lip quivered, and then something in her face snapped. She went from teary to livid in a heartbeat. "So what? You're perfect? You never make mistakes?" I set the bat down against the wall, took a breath. "You don't get to break in and play victim." She stormed closer. "You think I'm dangerous? I think you're unstable." Her palm came fast, slapped me across the face so hard my teeth clicked together. It wasn't the pain that froze me. It was the shock. The realization that the person who used to kiss me goodnight was now standing in my living room, shaking with fury, tears streaking her face, screaming that I'd ruined her life. Tyler showed up 5 minutes later. He'd been on speaker earlier while I was driving home, and when I didn't hang up properly, he'd heard the music in the background. Thank God he did. He came through the door like a storm, pulled her off me when she started shoving, yelling, clawing at my shirt. "Enough," he barked, holding her wrists. Emma just broke down then, sobbing, gasping, saying she didn't mean it. She was just scared. She didn't know who she was without me. Tyler looked at me. "You want me to call the cops?" And I should have said yes. I should have ended it right there. But seeing her like that, small, broken, mascara streaked down her face, I hesitated. "Just take her home," I said quietly. "Make sure she doesn't come back." He did. Drove her to her sister's place, made her promise not to contact me again. I thought maybe that was the end of it. But when I woke up the next morning, my truck windshield was shattered. The glass glittered like frost in the dawn light. And on the hood, written in red lipstick, were 5 words that turned my stomach. "You said I could stay." Update. Didn't think I'd be back here, but honestly, you guys were right. I read every single comment on my last post. Yeah, even the ones calling me a doormat. And let's just say I've had a hell of a week. First off, thank you. The messages, the DMs, the advice, some of you saved me from doing something stupid. A few people told me to lawyer up. A few told me to torch her stuff. And one person suggested I fake my own death and start over in Montana. Tempting, but probably not practical. To everyone asking, yes, I filed a police report for the break-in and the windshield. They took photos, said they'd keep it on record, which we all know is cop speak for "we'll call if she sets the house on fire." Still, it felt good to finally make it official. No more second-guessing whether I'm overreacting. Tyler's been staying over some nights. He says the house feels like a thriller set, and he's not wrong. I replaced the locks again, installed cameras, even added motion lights. Half my paycheck went to security, but peace of mind's worth more than a dented savings account. Emma's sister actually reached out 2 days ago. Apparently, Emma's been having a hard time, saying I humiliated her, made her feel unsafe, all that reverse victim garbage. She begged me not to press charges because Emma's fragile right now. You know what's fragile? My damn windshield. Anyway, that same night I found a package on my porch. No return address. Inside was the gray blanket she'd asked about, the one she said smelled like me. It was folded perfectly, tied with a ribbon. But the smell hit me like a gut punch. Gasoline. She'd drenched it. That was the moment I stopped feeling sad and started feeling angry. I realized I'd been playing defense the whole time, reacting to her chaos, waiting for the next explosion. But Emma doesn't understand boundaries. She only understands control. So if I wanted this to stop, I needed to flip the power dynamic. That's when the idea hit me. It's not violent. It's not illegal. But it's going to hit her exactly where she's weakest, her image. Because for Emma, reputation is oxygen. The perfect girl who saves lives, who's too sweet to ever hurt anyone. Yeah, let's just say she's not going to love what happens next. I'll update again soon. For now, I'm documenting everything. Cameras, screenshots, copies of police reports. Because if she wants a war, fine. But I'm done playing nice. I didn't sleep much after the blanket thing. Every creak in the house had me on edge. But underneath all that adrenaline, something new settled in. Focus. If Emma wanted to make me look like the villain, I was going to let her dig her own grave, with her own words. See, Emma wasn't just anybody. She worked at St. Francis Hospital, the kind of place where nurses get saint status. Everyone adored her there. Patients, coworkers, even the administration. I'd been to her work parties before. She was always the center of the room. Perfect hair, perfect laugh, the nurse who stayed late because she cared too much. I knew that image mattered more to her than anything. So I started where it would hurt most, her mask. I still had all her old texts saved, the ones where she'd call in sick but be out drinking with coworkers, or complain about certain patients, or gossip about her charge nurse. Harmless on their own maybe, but pattern them together and it paints a different picture. Tyler, ever the chaotic sidekick, sat beside me one night scrolling through screenshots. "Dude," he said, "you could build an entire HR complaint with this." "Not the plan," I said. "Not yet." Instead, I made a new email account. Anonymous, clean. Attached a few screenshots, carefully redacted names so I didn't cross legal lines. Then I sent it to the hospital's internal ethics inbox. Subject line, concern regarding staff professionalism. St. Francis RN Emma Hart. The goal wasn't to ruin her career. It was to make her nervous enough to finally back off, to give her something else to obsess about besides me. The next few days were weirdly quiet. No notes, no knocks, no lipstick messages. I actually started to think maybe it worked. Then I got a call from an unknown number. "Jake, it's Emma." Her voice was shaking, half furious, half terrified. "You think you're clever? Someone at work got an anonymous email about me. You did this." I kept my voice calm. "If the shoe fits, Emma, you're destroying me." I almost laughed. "No, I'm just giving the truth a louder microphone." She started crying again, but it sounded different this time. Angry, guttural. "You don't understand what you've done. I loved you and you turned me into your enemy. You did that yourself." She hung up, and for a while the silence after the call felt like victory. But that feeling didn't last long. 2 nights later, I got home from work and saw smoke curling up from the trash can in my driveway. Someone had set my mail on fire. In the middle of the ashes was a photo. One of us at the lake again, the same one she'd mailed before. Except this time she'd carved a heart through my face with something sharp. Tyler came by when he heard what happened. "She's escalating, man. You gotta nail this down legally." "I'm trying," I said. "But part of me thinks she won't stop until she's the one embarrassed enough to crawl away." He gave me a look that said he knew exactly where my head was going. "Just don't do something you can't undo." I promised him I wouldn't. And maybe I believed that for a while. But that same night, I found myself staring at my laptop scrolling through Emma's social media. The pictures, the comments, the perfect image of her life she still clung to. And right there, under a new post of her smiling in scrubs with the caption, "Some scars make you stronger," I saw a comment from Ethan, her ex. "Ethan, proud of you, Em. You're unstoppable." That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about me anymore. She'd gone running back to him again, probably spinning some story about her crazy ex-boyfriend harassing her. And that's when I decided the revenge had to go public. No more anonymous emails, no quiet warnings. If she wanted an audience, I was going to give her one. When I say I went quiet, I mean surgical quiet. No posts, no texts, no calls. Emma thought she'd finally broken me. That's what I wanted her to think. Because while she was busy cleaning up the mess I'd already made at her job, I was setting the stage for the one she'd never see coming. Emma lived online. Everything she did, charity runs, nursing selfies, mental health awareness reels, was currency. Her followers were her armor. So I built a little mirror for her reflection and let her step right into it. It started simple. I created a private account that looked like a nurse's support page. Uplifting quotes, work memes, nothing threatening. Within a week, she followed it. They always do. From there, I reposted her public photos, screenshotted, watermarked with fake timestamps, and paired them with the exact messages she'd once sent Ethan. You'll always be my what if. Sometimes I miss who I was with you. Just enough context to make people wonder who she was really texting during her shifts. The account didn't accuse her of anything. It just presented information. And when someone tagged her asking, "Isn't this you?" the comments exploded. That was the spark. I didn't touch it after that. The internet did the rest. Within 24 hours, her social feeds went private. Within 48, she blocked me everywhere. But I wasn't celebrating, not yet. Because I knew Emma. Shame wasn't the end for her, it was fuel. Tyler showed up that weekend with beer and a face full of worry. "You look like you're waiting for a storm, man." "I am," I said. And right on cue, headlights rolled up the driveway. Emma stumbled out of the car, mascara streaked, screaming before her door even shut. "You ruined my life. They're talking about me at work. I got suspended because of you." Tyler stepped between us. "Emma, back off." She ignored him, tried to push past. "Do you even know what it's like to lose everything because someone wants revenge?" I didn't yell. I just looked at her and said, "You called it closure, remember? This is what closed looks like." Something inside her broke right then. She grabbed one of the flower pots from the porch and hurled it at the truck. It shattered across the hood, soil spilling like blood. Tyler reached for his phone to call the cops, but I stopped him. She was already crumbling, sobbing against the mailbox. I walked up, slow, careful. "Emma, listen to me. This stops tonight. You go home, you get help, or I press charges tomorrow morning. No more texts, no more notes, no more drive-bys." She looked up at me with that hollow stare of someone who finally realizes the show's over. "You really hate me that much?" she whispered. "I don't hate you," I said. "I just survived you." She left without another word. That night, for the first time in months, I slept. Deep, dreamless, real sleep. But peace doesn't last long when you've humiliated someone who feeds on control. Because the next morning, my phone buzzed nonstop. Unknown numbers, messages from people I didn't even know. Screenshots of a new post. Emma had turned the narrative. A long caption, a crying selfie, and a story about an abusive ex who hacked her accounts, spread lies, and ruined her reputation out of jealousy. Hashtags. #survivor, #emotional, abuse, #justice, for Emma. And just like that, the internet that had crushed her started turning on me. Update 2. Well, Reddit, turns out when you drag a narcissist into the light, they'll burn and try to set you on fire on the way down. I didn't expect the internet to pick sides, but damn, Emma played her role like she was auditioning for an after-school special. Her confession post went viral in our small town, shared by mutuals, coworkers, even people I hadn't spoken to in years. Overnight, I became the controlling ex, the guy who wouldn't let her move on. My inbox filled up with DMs from strangers calling me a monster. A few from guys saying, "Been there, bro," but mostly hate. She'd even posted an old photo of us from before everything happened, captioned, "This was the night I realized I wasn't safe." Yeah, safe. The same night she'd been drunk and kissed me under Christmas lights, laughing until she cried. For a minute, I honestly thought about deleting everything, disappearing offline, letting her win. The comments, the half-truths, they crawl under your skin after a while. But Tyler wouldn't let me spiral. He kept saying, "You've got receipts. Let her keep talking." So that's what I did. I stopped reacting, stopped explaining. Just started archiving. Every lie she posted, every comment she replied to, every thread where she clarified her trauma. I screenshotted it all. I knew something about Emma that her followers didn't. She can't stop oversharing when she feels cornered. And sure enough, she did it again. In one of her long emotional essays, she wrote, "He even called my workplace pretending to be a patient to get me fired." Funny thing about that? I never called her work, ever. But guess who did? The hospital's HR department. They reached out to verify her story. When they realized she'd lied publicly about an internal investigation, It became a policy violation. She didn't get fired right away, but they suspended her indefinitely. The irony's thick enough to spread on toast. Tyler and I watched it unfold over takeout, the both of us sitting in the glow of my laptop. "You don't have to hit back anymore," he said. "She's doing it for you." But here's the weird part. I didn't feel triumphant, I just felt tired. Like every ounce of anger had burned itself out. You think revenge is going to feel like a punchline, but it doesn't. It just leaves you sitting in the ashes of what you both destroyed. That was 3 days ago. Since then, Emma's posts have gone quiet. Her accounts are either deleted or locked down. Her sister texted Tyler, not me, to say she checked herself into a wellness program for stress. I don't know what that means exactly, and honestly, I'm not sure I want to. All I know is the house is quiet again. The lights come on when they're supposed to. The locks work. I wake up and make coffee without flinching at the sound of my own door creaking. I guess this is what freedom feels like. Not loud, not cinematic, just still. If you've ever loved someone who turned your peace into chaos, learn from me. Don't wait for closure. Don't wait for apologies. Just walk away and build your silence brick by brick until they can't find the way back in. Because some people don't want forgiveness, they want access, and I finally locked the door. For a few weeks, things went quiet. Too quiet, in that unsettling, false peace kind of way. I started getting used to the silence again. Coffee before sunrise, drives to work with nothing but the hum of the truck for company, the cat sleeping on the couch like none of it had ever happened. Tyler kept checking in. "You sure she's gone?" he'd ask every time he came by with beer. "I think so," I'd say. "Or maybe she just found someone else to haunt." We'd laugh, but it was nervous laughter. Because we both knew people like Emma don't just vanish. They relocate their drama. Then one Thursday morning, I got a knock on my door. 2 plainclothes officers. One of them said, "Mr. Carter?" "Yeah." "You'll need to come down to the station. We received a report of harassment and property destruction." My stomach dropped. I knew exactly where this was going. At the precinct, they showed me photos. My truck, the shattered windshield, the burned blanket, even the flower pot she'd thrown. But in her version, I'd done all of it. She'd told them I was angry she left, that I'd been stalking her, threatening her career and vandalizing her things to scare her. They asked if I wanted to make a statement. I handed over a flash drive, every screenshot, video, and time-stamped clip from the security cameras. Her visits, her vandalism, her texts. I'd even kept a log of the dates and times I called the police. The detective watched about 2 minutes of footage before exhaling sharply. "You've been documenting this the whole time?" "Every second," I said. They thanked me, said they'd handle it from here. I walked out into the afternoon sun feeling like I'd been holding my breath for months and finally let it out. That night, Tyler came over with pizza and 2 beers. "So what happens now?" "I think she's finally going to face something she can't manipulate," I said. He nodded, then asked quietly, "You still love her?" I didn't answer right away. I thought about the way she used to laugh when she burned pancakes, the way she'd hum in the shower, the way she'd rest her head on my chest when she couldn't sleep. All of that existed, right alongside the chaos, the gaslighting, the fear. "Yeah," I said finally, "but not enough to ever open that door again." We clinked bottles, and for the first time in months, the sound didn't echo off the walls like emptiness. It just sounded normal. 2 days later, I got an email from the detective. Emma had been formally charged with misdemeanor trespassing and vandalism. Nothing huge, but enough that she'd have a record. Enough to end the narrative she'd been selling online. That should have been the end of it. But a week later, I came home to find a letter taped to my front door. No envelope, just folded notebook paper. It said, "You win. I lost everything, but you'll remember me every time you try to love someone else." There was a small Polaroid inside. A picture of us, Soin. At the lake, the same one she'd burned and mailed and rewritten a dozen times. Only now, she'd circled both our faces in red ink and drawn a shaky heart around them. Tyler wanted me to call the cops again, but I didn't. I just stood there on the porch for a long time, staring at that photo, feeling something strange. Not fear, not anger, pity. Because the truth is, I think she finally meant it. She really had lost everything. I locked the door behind me that night, tucked the photo into a drawer I never opened, and decided that was where the story would end. At least that's what I thought. Because 2 weeks later, someone left a voicemail on my work phone. A man's voice. "Hey, Jake, this is Ethan. I think we need to talk about Emma." When I first heard Ethan's voice, my stomach knotted so hard I nearly dropped my phone. The last name I ever wanted to hear. The ghost behind every closure text. He didn't sound hostile, just drained. "I'm not calling to start anything," he said, "but I think you deserve to know what's going on." We met 2 days later at a diner off the interstate. Neutral ground. I half expected it to turn into a shouting match, two guys fighting over the same hurricane. But when Ethan walked in, he looked worse than I felt. Bloodshot eyes, beard half grown, that hollow look of a man who's been living inside someone else's storm. He sat down across from me, no small talk. "She showed up at my place last week." I didn't even blink. "Of course she did." He nodded slowly. "Said you were obsessed with her, that you ruined her life. She cried, begged me to help her move somewhere new. But when I told her I couldn't get involved, she smashed her phone against my wall and screamed that I'd abandoned her too." He rubbed his face. "I called her sister after she left. They said she's supposed to be in treatment. I don't think she's going." For a while, neither of us spoke. The waitress refilled our coffees and gave us that careful look people use when they know a table's heavy with ghosts. Finally, Ethan said, "She's not evil, she's broken, but she knows how to make people carry the pieces for her." That hit harder than I expected, because he was right. That's what loving Emma had always been, bleeding so she didn't have to. Before he left, he pulled something from his jacket, a small silver bracelet. "She left this on my porch," he said. "It's got your initials engraved. Figured it belonged to you." It was the bracelet I'd given her our first Christmas together. I turned it over in my hand, cold metal pressing into my skin like a final reminder. "Keep it," I said. "Maybe as a warning." He gave me a sad smile. "You too, man." When I drove home that night, the world felt different. Quieter, but not empty. Just stripped down to the truth. I didn't hear from Emma again. Her accounts stayed dark, her sister never called, and for once I didn't go looking for answers. Sometimes closure isn't a conversation or an apology. Sometimes it's just the silence that follows when the chaos finally runs out of breath. Tyler came by a week later. We grilled on the back porch, drank a couple of beers, listened to crickets. At one point he asked, "So, that's it?" "Yeah," I said. "That's it." He raised his bottle. "To peace, then." I clinked mine against his. "To privacy," I said. He grinned. "And freedom?" I nodded. Already had that part covered. When he left, I sat there alone under the porch light, the night warm and still, the world finally calm. I thought about everything I'd lost: trust, sleep, innocence, and realized none of it mattered compared to what I'd gained. Not revenge, not victory, just distance. Emma once told me closure was about understanding, but now I think it's about release. About letting someone walk out of your story and refusing to follow them into theirs. The bracelet's still in the glove compartment of my truck. Sometimes I catch it glinting in the sunlight when I reach for my keys. I don't throw it away. I don't need to. It's just there, quiet, harmless, like a ghost that finally learned how to rest.